Want to include Bonds with 21 Savage. The first time I ever had a conversation with 21 was here on The Breakfast Club, and if you go back and watch that interview from 9 years ago, I told him after talking to him that he had his head on right. You can tell he was smarter than most, and after listening to numerous calls between him and Thug this weekend,
yes,
I still stand.
New footage has surfaced that appears to show young Thug allegedly involved in a heated situation with YSL Woody, and the fallout looks intense. Don't move, because this drops right after that explosive leaked jail phone call from Thug, and with their long-running tension, fans are lining everything up fast. People online are already asking the wild question: could this be the moment that puts Thug back in serious legal trouble again?
Yeah, they say I got like a crack bump, but I got something sticking on my shoulder and it hurting. A lot of my head had like a lot of soft spots and cuts on it. They gave me stitches. My leg right here, it bust open, and it's kind of numb on this side, and my neck right here, my back of my shoulder up here, and my chest, it feel like somebody standing on it.
Here's the breakdown. New video clips hit the internet and instantly shook Atlanta hip-hop, showing YSL Woody laid out on the pavement, completely unresponsive. His body wasn't moving, his face badly injured, and people nearby were whispering one chilling question: is he gone for days? The clips, dated September 1st, 2025, spread like wildfire and had everyone staring at their screens in disbelief. The footage shows Kenneth L. Woody Copeland being treated by paramedics after what was officially described as a severe dirt bike accident. His body looked limp, his neck secured, and visible injuries had people doubting the explanation. Online chatter exploded because this wasn't just anyone. It was the same man long labeled as a cooperating witness tied to the YSL case.
They do the work of the Lord. No matter what goes on, pray, ask for forgiveness. God will come through and protect you at all costs, even in the time of pain.
As the images spread, fans questioned whether this was really an accident or something deeper. Even viral live stream commentators pushed the theory further, with one reacting live and saying Woody looked lifeless until paramedics injected him back to consciousness, wondering out loud if it was a hit and run designed to silence him for good. But here's where the story took a sharp left turn. Just hours later, Woody himself popped up on social media, very much alive, neck braced, bruised up, clearly hurting, but talking and calling the past rumors straight up lies. In his own words, he said, "God spared me another chance," flipping the entire narrative overnight. The same man many people accused of turning on his so-called big brother, Young Thug, was now presenting himself as the survivor. He leaned heavy into faith, thanking prayer for pulling him through. And suddenly the tone shifted fast. Instead of silence, Woody was loud, grateful, and framing himself as chosen to live, which only added more tension to an already messy situation.
It's a blessing. It's a blessing. People don't understand. Not everybody get another chance. And I keep getting them. I done got so many of them.
Then came the Fox 5 interview a few days later, and things got even more complicated. Sitting stiff, face stitched, clearly still in pain, Woody admitted he didn't remember getting on the dirt bike at all. One second he was riding, the next he woke up in a hospital bed, shocked he was still breathing. That statement alone had viewers raising eyebrows everywhere. And that survival kicked off a whole new debate. If Woody's still here, what happens next in his conflict of words with Young Thug? Because just days before the crash, the two were already clashing publicly. It started with Young Thug's latest podcast interview, where he blamed Woody as the first domino in the YSL case. Thug claimed Woody's so-called mistake, taking jewelry from Big Nut's car back in 2015, sparked tension with YFN Lucci's camp, setting off a chain reaction that later spiraled into years of chaos and major legal fallout. Putting YSL on blast, the accusations got loud again. Claims flew that Woody broke into Nut's car and took jewelry, setting off a chain reaction that dragged everything into court. And while people kept repeating that story, Woody made it clear he wasn't staying quiet about it.
I'm willing to answer questions.
Even while recovering, Woody jumped on Instagram and fired straight back at Thug. He didn't hold back, saying, "Accountability at Thugger. Thugger 1. Just take accountability. We love you, brah, and we with you, but take accountability." That wasn't just noise. It was a direct message meant to flip the script fast. Woody was basically telling the world, don't label me the villain. In his view, this whole case, this long-running feud, didn't start with him. It started before Copeland. He made it sound like Thug was rewriting history. And that bold stance shocked a lot of people, especially with Woody's own 2024 courtroom testimony still fresh in everyone's memory. That's when things really blew up online. Viewers remembered those viral interrogation clips where Woody admitted he mentioned Thug's name to shift pressure off himself. They remembered the courtroom chaos over whether YSL was a group or just a label.
I didn't never see somebody shooting at us. But if the police question me, I'm trying to convince them that I know what I'm talking about. So it's easy to say, shell kill. It's easy to put people's name with crimes that, because if he did it, why y'all don't lock him up? If I say I seen him do it, why y'all don't lock him up and charge you for it?
The internet never forgets, and neither did the critics. Add in the non-stop memes, the harsh commentary, and public figures mocking him, and the tension only grew louder. So when Woody said, "I risked my life to protect y'all know it," it hit like a lightning bolt. Some fans respected the honesty, others laughed it off as pure fantasy, and with clips of him laid out on Peters Street still circulating, the feud suddenly felt way darker and way more serious than before. If people around Thug were really chasing payback, this is exactly what it would look like. But don't get it twisted. This tension didn't just pop up out of nowhere in September 2025. The roots go way back, planted deep inside a Fulton County courtroom, where Woody went from a low-profile YSL associate to the key witness prosecutors leaned on hard to frame Thug as the top guy.
I was a 30-deep gang member. You can't say I was a YSL gang member. YSL was never considered a gang. Y'all making it a game.
Back in 2024, Woody stunned everyone by admitting under oath that he wasn't fully honest with detectives, saying, "It was easy for me to throw blame on Thug." That confession hit like a shockwave. He claimed pressure from prosecutors over his own pending cases, and the courtroom turned into a circus when he tried speaking directly to Thug, sparking laughter, noise, and pure chaos. That moment locked Woody into hip-hop history forever. Fast forward to 2025, and every new leak pulls that past right back into the spotlight. Whether it's Thug's leaked jail calls or Woody showing up bruised on Instagram Live, fans don't see a dirt bike accident anymore. They see consequences playing out in real time. They don't hear hospital bed explanations or calm reflections. They hear the voice of someone many believe turned on his inner circle. And that's exactly why this week's footage spread so fast. This wasn't just about a man nearly losing his life. It was about a feud way too deep, way too personal, and way too messy to ever truly fade away. And that's the wildest part. The week everything almost ended, the story somehow got even louder. Woody kept pushing his message hard, saying Thug needed to stop pointing fingers and start taking responsibility. To Woody, surviving that crash wasn't luck. It was proof. Proof that he was still here, still standing, still speaking his truth, and still ready to clap back without fear. But from Thug's camp, it looked like the same old story. Another move by the man they believe kicked off the domino effect that nearly tore YSL apart. And that's the setup. A badly hurt Woody fighting to stay alive, the internet screaming revenge move, and two former brothers now locked in a brutal battle of narratives over who really damaged YSL. But just when people thought the Woody crash was the biggest headline of the week, something even crazier dropped out of nowhere.
Woody broke a nut car and stole his jewelry, and I'm saying all this because it's all public record.
Old history and fresh drama flooded the timeline fast. Interrogation recordings, leaked jail calls, and audio clips that were never meant to be public started circulating everywhere. Together, they painted a very different picture of young Thug. Not the untouchable street mastermind he's often seen as, but a man under pressure, conflicted, and in the eyes of some fans, fully exposed. The timeline didn't explode. It unraveled like a slow-motion disaster. It all traced back to late August 2025, when a long, unedited interrogation recording resurfaced online. The footage dated back to the 2015 Lil Wayne tour bus incident, a moment that had followed Thug's name for years. Inside that room, officers repeatedly told Thug he didn't have to speak without legal counsel, yet he kept insisting. That choice ended up setting the stage for what many fans now call Thug's biggest misstep. In the recording, Thug tried to separate himself from Pee Wee Roscoe, the man later convicted in the Lil Wayne tour bus incident. He told investigators he was stunned by what happened, even suggesting Roscoe and Wayne had a friendly relationship. That moment alone raised eyebrows everywhere. To some listeners, it sounded like Thug was trying to protect someone by blurring the story. To others, it felt like confirmation that he was giving investigators more than they needed. Lines from the tape quickly went viral, including parts where he referenced Cobb County and the situation with Roscoe, creating even more confusion and debate online. That's where the accusations of double standards exploded. Critics immediately questioned how Thug could spend years calling out others for cooperating, while he himself was caught speaking freely with detectives without legal backup. Bloggers, rivals, and fans jumped on it fast, turning it into a non-stop talking point across social media. Then came another shockwave, the leaked jail calls. By early September, several audio clips surfaced online, allegedly recorded while Thug was waiting on his RICO trial. And in those calls, the tone was completely different. Thug wasn't just venting frustration, he was questioning loyalty, naming names and airing grievances that hit deep inside Atlanta's hip-hop circle. In one call, he directly blamed Gunna, saying Gunna's plea deal made YSL look like a gang in the eyes of the jury. That statement alone sent the internet into a frenzy and pushed the controversy to a whole new level.
You know what happened in Cobb County, right, with Pee Wee and all that crap?
Oh, Roscoe.
Yeah, Roscoe.
Oh, yeah, with that Lil Wayne shit.
Yeah.
In another leaked call, Thug went even further. He compared Gucci Mane to being soft after prison for letting old issues go. And during a tense moment with 21 Savage, he admitted Gunna's decision really hurt him. That part hit different. What made it even crazier was 21 reminding Thug that he once told his own brother to do the exact same thing to avoid serious time. That reminder cut deep and flipped the narrative instantly. The calls didn't stop there. Thug also took shots over chart politics, claiming certain artists played number games to block his releases. He threw wider jabs at industry figures too, saying they disappeared when the pressure was at its peak. For fans, it wasn't shocking because rappers talk wild on the phone. Everyone knows that. It was shocking because these calls stripped away the mystique. The so-called untouchable figure suddenly sounded messy, emotional, and contradictory. The reaction was immediate. GQ summed it up bluntly, saying the leaks didn't just damage Thug's image, they reshaped the entire post-trial conversation. People started asking the hard question. Was he really a victim of the system? Or just another player who bent rules when it benefited him, then snapped when others did the same? Thug responded fast on Instagram and X. He fired back with posts under the banner of Ratware, pushing the message that nothing in the leaks proved betrayal to his core supporters. It was classic Thug, defiant, sharp, and refusing to let anyone rewrite his code. But prosecutors didn't see it that way.
Don't move him! Don't move him!
According to 99.9 XTC, the DA's office formally objected to the interrogation footage being shown in court, worried it could influence jurors during ongoing appeals. That move only raised more eyebrows. If the state didn't want the tape played in court, why was it suddenly everywhere online? And that's exactly why these leaks matter so much in the YSL story. They didn't just air private moments. They cracked open the foundation of everything people thought they knew. Those leaks ripped open every old wound. They pushed an even bigger wedge between Thug and Gunna, who, despite staying active musically, is now locked in fan conversations as the ultimate turncoat. They reignited industry tension too, dragging old issues with Gucci Mane, Lil Wayne, and others right back into the spotlight. Hip-hop split down the middle, one side seeing Thug as a fallen icon unfairly dragged through the mud, the other seeing him as someone who played both sides when it was convenient. As GQ pointed out, these audios have become the lens fans now use to rewatch the entire YSL saga. It's not just about courtroom decisions anymore. It's about who really lived by the code when nobody was watching, when the lights were off, and when calls were being recorded. And the ugliest part, with every new leak, the pressure doesn't just hit Thug, it circles back to Woody too. If Thug is being labeled inconsistent, Woody is being framed as the man who backed him into that corner in the first place. The interrogation tape was already chaotic, but the jail call leaks completely blew the roof off. These weren't clean statements or press-ready clips. They were raw, scratchy conversations, the kind artists never expect the public to hear. Thug was calling from behind bars, talking to family, close allies, and friends like 21 Savage, never thinking the world would hear a second of it.
YSL is a gang, and he know people on this trial who committed crimes in furtherance of the gang.
But there it was, everywhere. Blogs, timelines, YouTube breakdowns, all turning into headline fuel for outlets like Yahoo and 99.9 XTC. And what those calls revealed went way beyond gossip. They reshaped how fans looked at YSL, loyalty, and Thug himself. The most emotional moment came during a call with 21 Savage, where Thug poured out his frustration about Gunna, saying he couldn't believe someone he once called a brother would confirm things that cut that deep. That moment hit Thug hard. He admitted it broke his heart hearing YSL described that way. But 21 Savage didn't let it slide at all. He pushed back instantly, reminding Thug that he once told his own brother, Fu, to accept a deal that required acknowledging YSL as a criminal enterprise. That reminder landed heavy. The contradiction cut deep. How could Thug go off on Gunna for doing the same thing he advised his own family to do? For fans, that was the turning point. It exposed how loyalty, even at the highest level, can bend depending on who's under pressure and who's trying to survive. That's why the reaction exploded.
That like Shawty did what he did with the intention of hurting you. You feel what I'm saying? I don't really get that vibe from him. I feel like he just green. That's just.
I just look at it. God damn sure was thinking about that one day. Like, I ain't finna say nothing about this. I might just be like, man, them folks did what they had to do. I'm like, the hell that's gonna change? Cause I feel like it's really over with for your rap.
GQ wrote that the leaks shattered the image of Young Thug as a rule-bound general, replacing it with someone visibly hurt, conflicted, and inconsistent. The mystique didn't fade quietly. It cracked wide open, and the fallout didn't stop there. Thug dragged more names into the mix, including Gucci Mane. He suggested Gucci changed after prison, mocking him for letting old conflicts go. That wasn't just a jab. It was a direct shot at one of Atlanta's respected veterans, a man who once guided Thug. Calling Gucci soft crossed an unspoken line in the city, and fans felt that tension immediately. Elsewhere in the calls, Thug went after industry politics. He accused rivals of playing dirty behind the scenes, hinting that chart positions were being manipulated to block his releases. He didn't name names in the leaked clips, but fans rushed to fill in the blanks, speculating about everyone from Drake to Lil Baby. Mixed into all of that were bitter reflections on loyalty. Thug vented that too many artists ride with you when things are smooth, then disappear the moment pressure hits. That frustration rang loud. And for many listeners, it made the entire saga feel even more raw and real. Thug came off sounding bitter, suspicious, and almost fixated on who turned their back while he sat locked up in Fulton County. When the Breakfast Club got hold of the clips, Charlamagne and DJ Envy played them live, shaking their heads at the contradictions playing out in real time. Charlamagne even pointed out how 21 Savage sounded more level-headed than Thug, urging him to let things go and move forward. Advice Thug clearly wasn't ready to accept. Meanwhile, blogs like 99.9XTC kept hammering one uncomfortable question. If the DA's office fought so hard to keep the interrogation tape out of court, why did it suddenly leak everywhere online?
You talking about, YSL members on this case that committed crimes in furtherance of the game. You just made it a RICO case. You just made it a case.
Fans started questioning the power plays behind the scenes, and the speculation only grew louder by the hour. Online, the culture split fast. One side rallied behind Thug, flooding comment sections with ratware and insisting the leaks showed nothing illegal, just a man venting under pressure. The other side went in hard, roasting him as the ultimate contradiction. A man who dragged Gunna with the label of betrayal, while his own voice sat on tape speaking with investigators years earlier. And the fallout didn't stop with reputation. It reshaped careers. For Gunna, the leaks oddly worked in his favor. He was already selling out shows and hosting Run Club meetups. And now, with Thug sounding frustrated and stuck in the past, Gunna looked like the one who moved forward, focused on music and freedom. For Thug's peers, the tension only deepened. Old rifts widened, shots at industry politics resurfaced, and whispers about chart manipulation and quiet grudges kept circulating. What started as leaked audio turned into a full-blown reset of how fans saw the entire YSL circle, and nothing felt settled anymore. That's how bridges get burned for good. For YSL's legacy, the entire story got rewritten right in front of everyone's eyes. It was no longer just about Thug being unfairly targeted by prosecutors. Now the narrative shifted to something messier. Thug with his own contradictions, his own choices, and his own words coming back to haunt him. At this point, the leaks became a turning point in how Young Thug's story was viewed. Instead of a tragic hero, he started being seen as a wounded, complicated figure, someone playing the same survival game as everyone else, twisting narratives when pressure hit. If the crash footage showed Woody laid out on the pavement and the leaks exposed Thug's inconsistencies, then part 3 is where everything fully spilled open. Everyone Thug had tension with, every burned bridge, every quiet grudge, got pulled into the spotlight.
My emotions is making me a fool. So God takes special care of old people, food, children, and retarded people like Woody. God takes special care of these guys.
Those audios didn't just reveal what he said about Gunna. They exposed the full weight of his frustration. Whole sections of Atlanta, whole corners of hip-hop suddenly felt caught in his crossfire. And Gunna wasn't the only target. In the same calls, Thug and 21 Savage broke down subliminal shots from Lil Baby, and Lil Durk aimed at Gunna. Savage brushed it off as clout chasing, saying they moved too fast. Thug seemed to agree, and fans quickly noticed how Baby unfollowed Gunna shortly after the plea. Then things got even colder. When Gunna fired back on a record, Thug reportedly watched in disbelief as Savage, quietly created distance. Savage unfollowed Thug on Instagram after realizing his own friend might have crossed lines. That moment cut deeper than any lyric. For years, Thug and Savage were seen as Atlanta brothers, and now even that bond was starting to crack. Then came the industry hierarchy, and Thug didn't hold back at all. In the leaked calls, he poured heavy praise on Drake, calling him a rare superstar who actually changes lives and brings others up with him. But right after that, he flipped the tone and aimed straight at Kendrick Lamar, accusing him of keeping success to himself. He said, "You a superstar, you ran up a few hundred, but you ain't put nobody on. You ain't even put Baby Keem on." That line alone sent shockwaves through the culture. The irony didn't go unnoticed. Fans were quick to point out that Kendrick did help Baby Keem rise, but in Thug's sell-side mindset, emotions outweighed facts. That same frustration spilled over toward Andre 3000, another legend Thug criticized for not uplifting the next generation. To listeners, it sounded like Thug was swinging at the very pillars of rap history, reshaping the story so only Drake stood untouched. Then things turned even messier. In one wild rant, Thug took a personal shot at Glorilla, making comments about her appearance that crossed the line. She fired back immediately on X, joking while making her point clear, saying people were blowing up her phone asking about her eye color. The moment went viral fast. Thug later walked it back in a follow-up call, apologizing and blaming his mental state while locked up. He said, "I honestly don't think you're unattractive at all. I was speaking from jail, just having a hard time with life." But by then, the damage was already done. Instead of looking untouchable, Thug sounded overwhelmed, snapping at anyone who popped into his thoughts, and the harshest words were saved for people once close to him. He went at Future too, accusing him of not showing support after declining to headline a Free Thug event.
"I ain't finna say nothing about you on the internet. I ain't finna let the world know I ain't fucking until just say so." What they supposed to did, like,
ain't nobody
them to get clout. Yes, they have. Dirt gets them.
Dirt said something to him, but that's it. Like, Wham, I'm not doing all this shit. Like,
Wham unfollowed him.
Thug mocked his priorities and intelligence, and fans watching it all unfold could tell this wasn't strategy anymore. It was frustration spilling over in real time. He kept going, saying Future didn't know anything beyond music and mocking him for acting different in the studio when women were around. He said, "I don't know what image you trying to push, but you an idiot." And that line alone shocked longtime fans. For years, Thug and Future were seen as the unstoppable Atlanta trap duo, but these leaked calls flipped that image completely, making them sound less like brothers and more like bitter rivals. And it didn't stop there. Metro Boomin caught heat too, even during a deeply personal moment. After the loss of Metro's mother, Thug accused him of using grief as a reason not to go harder. Fans recoiled instantly. To many, it felt cold and unnecessary, crossing a line that shouldn't be touched. Then Thug pulled Drake into the storm again. In one clip, he criticized how Drake handled Metro's loss, calling his response weak and saying he only sent surface-level condolences. In the next breath, he blasted Drake for not using his influence politically, saying, "You, Drake, go talk to the president. Let my brother go." The contradiction was wild. That's where the double-edged persona showed. One moment, Drake was praised as a hero. The next, he was painted as passive and scared. By the time the full 28-minute call about Metro and Drake leaked, fans couldn't even tell where Thug truly stood. On one hand, he admitted Drake meant well. On the other, he argued that business should continue no matter what, grief included. That tone made him sound harsh, even toward allies who had publicly supported him and signed petitions in his name. And the damage kept spreading. Thug even took shots at his own circle, calling out people from his roster, including Gunna, Yak, Gotti, Slime Life, Shad the God, and even Woody. In those calls, he labeled them weak links, traitors, or people who folded under pressure. At that point, nothing felt off limits anymore. The label Thug once called family had turned into a firing squad. What was once YSL, the dynasty, was now publicly tearing itself apart, led by a general unraveling through prison phone calls. By the time Thug appeared on the Postal podcast, even he couldn't deny it anymore. He admitted, "These last few days I've been sitting around like, what was I thinking?" That moment felt raw and revealing. Thug tried to brush it off as emotional venting. He said the calls were just private talks with his partner, lonely thoughts from a man with no outlet while locked up. And sure, some fans accepted that explanation. But for a lot of people, it was already too late. Those recordings weren't just frustration spilling out. They sounded like proof that Thug had burned bridges all over the industry, pushed away allies, and boxed himself into isolation. Every new clip made the fallout harder to ignore. And hovering over it all was one silent figure. Gunna, no rants, no responses, just sold-out shows and forward motion while the man who once mentored him unraveled in public. That silence spoke volumes. In a moment where Thug seemed at battle with everyone, Gunna's refusal to even engage felt like the loudest response possible. Then came the culture shift. Commentators across platforms started saying the obsession with labeling people had gone stale. On The Breakfast Club, Charlemagne called the old street code corny, pointing out that fans cared more about music tours and numbers than interrogation room loyalty. Younger listeners on TikTok echoed the same energy, laughing at the idea that someone would risk their entire career to defend a code that no longer moves the culture. By the end of it all, a huge chunk of the fan base didn't even look at Thug the same anymore. That generational split turned the leaks into more than just drama. It became a full-on judgment call. Was young Thug the last soldier holding on to an outdated code, or just someone who couldn't keep his story straight when the pressure hit? By the time the mega threads wrapped up, one thing was crystal clear. Thug had issues with almost everybody. Gunna, 21 Savage, Lil Baby, Lil Durk, Gucci Mane, Kendrick Lamar, Andre 3000, Future, Metro Boomin, Glorilla, even Drake at different moments. Friends, rivals, legends, newcomers, nobody was off limits. And through all that chaos, one person stayed completely quiet. Gunna said nothing. No interviews, no sneak disses, no social media back and forth, just movement, touring, releasing music, stacking wins, and staying focused. That silence became the loudest headline of the entire saga. While Thug ranted from behind the walls, burning bridges one by one, Gunna kept it pushing without looking back. And that silence wasn't weakness. It was strategy. It turned Thug's words into echoes, bouncing around with no real response. Every leaked clip felt less powerful and more desperate as time went on. By the time Thug admitted in a later interview that he'd been sitting around thinking, "What was I even doing?" the damage was already locked in. His empire wasn't just being debated in court. It was falling apart in the court of public opinion. And that brings us to the end of this video. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure you like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives just like this. Drop your thoughts in the comments, tell us whose side you're on, and we'll catch you on the next one.